Hello, everyone. Welcome to 49ers After Dark. We're your hosts, Grant Cohn and Jessie Naylor, and we're going to talk in a very soothing voice about football for the next hour. Jessie, how are you?
I'm doing fantastic, Grant. Is this radio voice that we're doing? I love this.
No, this is Yoga Nidra. Does anyone know what Yoga Nidra is? If you can't sleep, you can type that in as this lady that'll just like basically say all the different body parts for an hour. She'll be like, big toe, the next toe. I'm just like, that's right. The top of the foot. Anyway, Grant Cohn, Jessie Naylor, Niners After Dark. We are so pumped up to talk about the 49ers. We're going to talk about the MVP race, the Ravens, prize picks, Lamar versus Brock. And I got some bonus topics because like sometimes I like to just start shit and create some new tops, some new narratives for people to chew on. See if I can do it. Sometimes I try to trade a player. We're not trading anyone today. George.
You haven't tried to trade
Brandon.
anybody this year, have you?
Yeah, but I'm getting ready. Give me a couple months.
All right. Debo,
fair enough. Brock.
Looking at you.
Anyway, but let's start with the MVP race because that's what everyone wants to talk about. CMC, Brock, they both have quite a case to make for themselves.
Yeah, they most definitely do. And what I wanted to do is compare them to some of the predecessors that have won in their position. Obviously, not a lot of running backs have won over the last 20 years, but there have been 3 running backs that have won it since 2005. And then quarterback pretty much wins it every year. So I took the last 5 years, really, since they've kind of been doing, 17 games over the last few years and what have you. Passing is obviously way up. And both players really you can make a case for. And I thought that would be the case, but I was actually a little bit surprised that it was this close. So I'll give you an example. What I did is I took Sean Alexander, LT, and AP, and I took their 3 years that they won the MVP and basically came up with an average. The average was 2,198 total yards in the season that they won MVP and 24 total touchdowns. Well, CMC right now is on pace for 24 total touchdowns and 2,186 total yards. So he's about 12 yards behind the pace and is right on pace with the touchdowns of previous running backs that have won the MVP since 2005. So then I did the same thing for Brock Purdy. I took total yards, I took total touchdowns and interceptions and compared that to the 2 Mahomes MVPs, the 2 Rodgers MVPs, and Lamar's MVP, which was the last 5 years. And essentially, this is what the numbers came up to. The last 5 years, the average has been 4,795 total yards. Brock Purdy is on pace for 4,775 total yards. The average in touchdowns per season, total touchdowns, is at 46. Brock Purdy is at 38. That's the one number that's kind of significantly lower. But then the interceptions, the average is at 7 per season in those MVP years, and Brock's on pace for 8. So really statistically, when you look at do they deserve to be the MVP when comparing them to their predecessors, the answer is yes. They both are right there on pace. I think CMC is a little bit closer to what the averages are, but Brock certainly has a case based off of what other players have done.
I think what's so hard about making an argument for one of these players or anyone to win this award is there's no clear-cut criteria for what you're supposed to do. And I just looking it up right now while you were talking. It's interesting. Like, it's a quarterback award, or it has evolved into one. Mm-hmm. But 16 running backs all time have won this award. That's a healthy number. How many wide receivers do you think have won the MVP award?
None.
Yeah. None. How can you tell me that a running back is more valuable than a wide receiver when wide receivers make more money for a reason? I don't get that. So to me, if we're talking about like historical precedent and like how McCaffrey's numbers compare or Purdy's numbers compare, there's one player this season who's putting up numbers that are really off the charts and are kind of incomparable, and it's Tyreek Hill. So if we're looking at, I think he deserves to be the first wide receiver of all time to be an MVP. Maybe he's injured now and that'll take away from his candidacy, but that's crazy to me that a wide receiver can't win the award, but a running back can. Like, what is that?
Yeah, most certainly. I mean, it's rare for both now, and really, what it's been over 10 years since a running backs won. It's been a long time. So
Adrian Peterson.
it's a quarterback award. That's what it is. It's
It
basically,
really is.
are you a quarterback? Are you on one of the top winning teams? Do you have good statistics? Okay, you qualify. Otherwise, you don't qualify. All right. Well,
Yeah.
what are you supposed to do? So, I mean, it's
Like
likely going to
Jerry
be
Rice
Brock.
never won the award, but Thurman Thomas did.
Yeah.
Sean Alexander did. It's like
Yeah.
nothing against them, but maybe we need to start thinking about this award a little differently. How come a wide receiver, Jerry Rice should have won this award? He's like the greatest player of all time. Something's wrong.
You know what I don't
Criteria.
understand is you have an MVP award, but then you have an offensive player of the year. Shouldn't that be the same guy?
Yes.
Or if you have an offensive and a defensive player of the year, shouldn't one of those guys be the MVP? Why is it a separate player? If a quarterback wins the MVP, why does it then have to be a running back that wins offensive player of the year or whatever they do? That doesn't make any sense to me.
Also, correct me if I'm wrong. I was looking through Peyton Manning's box score a couple days ago.
Mhm.
There are seasons when he won both awards. When he won both AP, MVP, and Offensive Player of the Year. It's like,
Okay.
what is the point? Can someone explain what the difference is?
Anybody explain the difference? I don't know. If you had a vote, you'd go Tyreek Hill?
Well, the season isn't over yet. There's 3 games left. I think Tyreek has a good case, but he just missed the last game. And the offense looked good without him. Let's see if he gets to 2,000 yards. He may not. But if he does, I don't know. It seems like a more special season than whatever Brock and Christian McCaffrey is doing. Like, you don't have to be an advanced stats guru or a football aficionado to understand that one of those 3 is putting up the historic numbers.
Yeah, well, I mean, he was on pace, but then that injury's going to hurt him. I mean, Calvin Johnson, when he got the 1,900 yards or whatever, he probably should have won or could have won. Could have been in the argument. And he didn't.
Damn
He
right,
wasn't in there.
won.
You know.
Yeah, I'm trying to
So-
change I'm trying to change patterns here. It seems like the wide receivers are there's a prejudice against them. And I don't like it. It's not fair. It's not right.
Yeah,
They're players too, and they make a lot of money for good reason.
They do. They definitely do. The trend of them getting paid more than running backs, I wonder when that trend actually started. Like we'd have to go back through contracts, but I got to imagine that's a last 10, 12 year type of thing. And so since that trend happened, they're just like, okay, well, no other position but quarterback just wins this award now. No running back.
Running backs would win it all the time, man. Thurman Thomas 91, Emmitt Smith 93, Barry Sanders 97, Terrell Davis 98, Marshall Faulk 2000. Like, happened all the time when we were kids. And then it just petered out. It was Sean Alexander 05, LaDainian Tomlinson 06, Peterson in 12, and that's it. And so I guess it has to go to a quarterback now. But I think, what about a season where there's a generational wide receiver? He can't get consideration.
Yeah, I agree. But back then, you weren't competing for rings unless you had an elite running back. The running back was every bit as important as a quarterback. Interesting how the league's changed, right?
But to me, what this season is about is about the supporting cast. No disrespect to Brock, but there's no like superhuman quarterback just doing it on his own this year, like Cam Newton in 2015. This is very much about quarterbacks optimizing supporting cast and systems, or vice versa.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you're not
about to me.
You don't have the 5,000-yard passer or the 45 passing touchdowns. Those guys they're not in the league this year for whatever reason, and it's just what it is.
I just don't see how you give. I mean, I'm a hater, right? I don't see how you give the MVP to a quarterback of the team that passes it the least. I'm sorry. I know there's reasons for that, but what he's great at is efficiency. But it's not like the Niners are like, you know what? We live and die by Brock Purdy. We're throwing the ball 45 times a game because he's our best player. And that's how that's our identity is passing. Like, no, absolutely not. They're a run first team. They pass less than every other team in the league. And their quarterback's the MVP? Really? I've never heard of anything like that. Although I know when Matt Ryan won the Super Bowl, won the MVP, the Falcons were down there in pass attempts because that's Kyle's system. I get it. But that's why I think Kyle should be the coach of the year. Like, that is a crazy freaking stat. Second in passing yards, 32nd in pass attempts. That's Kyle.
Yeah, but to be fair to Brock, the team.
I don't want to be fair to Brock.
That's fine. That's fine. I'm going to be fair to Brock. The team is 32nd in passing. Brock is 21st.
21st
amongst quarterbacks.
21st.
So
That's
the
correct.
team
There are
passing
20
is
quarterbacks
lower,
who throw more
but
than him.
he is, yeah. So it is still low. I get that, but he is definitely making the most of every pass that he's throwing. I mean, to be
No
up there in
question.
yards and touchdowns and all those things. So
No question. I just had to be a hater to stay on brand for like 3 seconds, but then I dialed it back.
Good. You did a good job. I like it.
Thank you. I tried. Brock, it wasn't personal. It's just who I am. Matt McEwen says, with Davis on IR, should we go for Sue? Why or why not? It's a good question.
Well, he did just visit Miami today, I believe. I think they
He's played
should.
before, hasn't he?
He what?
He's played for them before, hasn't he?
Yeah, after Detroit, he signed a big contract with them.
And he's big on playing for teams that don't have income tax in the state income tax. I know that. Isn't he like, anyway?
He played for Tampa. Yeah, he played for Miami. He played for Philly last year, though. So he was choosing. Actually, he could have gone here. He was choosing between San Francisco and Philadelphia. They both made offers. He went to Philadelphia, which proved to be the right move as far as
what does that say about the Niners offer?
It's going to be low as hell.
That's what I think the Niners offer is.
Yeah,
I feel like the Niners offer is we're not going to pay you up front, but we might get you a ring. We might get you that ring, though. How do you feel about that? And Sue's like, I don't know. How much money has Ndamukong Suh made in his career? He's really going to play for like basically free.
A lot of money.
I can tell you, I like looking that up.
A lot of money.
Has he made $100 million? Remember when Logan Ryan was explaining why he didn't just sign with any team? He's like, I made a lot of money. He's made $129 million in the NFL, man. He can be picky. He can wait. Or just wait until the playoffs entirely. Oh, you're offering me nothing? All right, cool. I'll see you in the divisional round. See you in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I'll be here for 3-4 weeks. It's all good.
Yeah, fine. Okay, yeah, I'll do the absolute minimum. Get that ring, baby. I don't know.
But the 49ers are working out defensive tackles, and I would say, why not Sue? I mean, he is a veteran. He's still produced even as of 2 years ago. I don't know that you're going to find much better than him on the open market. And really, worst case scenario, he's maybe your third defensive tackle for a week. Best case scenario, he's your fifth defensive tackle. I'm totally fine with that.
Also, like, you have a lot of cap space. It's Jed York's money. Spending it is fun. What's the problem?
Yeah.
Give him what he wants.
Yeah.
What are you waiting for? Like, why do you have to win this negotiation? Prague Marate's, doesn't even work. He's working for the soccer team now. Like, just give him $1 million. $1 million.
$1 million.
Trenton Carey, $2. Thank you, Matt McEwen. Nick Wright, if you had to choose, Brock plays no CMC, CMC plays, and Darnold starts. Darnold didn't inspire a lot of confidence with his few little throws the other day.
Oh, Brock for CMC. I'm taking Mitchell and Brock over CMC and Darnold. Darnold's awful. Darnold is worse than Jimmy Garoppolo. Yeah, I'm taking that.
Yeah, we're going to talk about like what to do with the quarterback depth chart moving forward, because Darnold should not be on this team. Trenton Carey says, can you ask Kyle what JT has been saying all year? Why have CMC start his route 5 yards behind the line of scrimmage?
He doesn't like 7-step drops either. So JT's on his
really pissed Kyle off.
Yeah, why does CMC?
Hey, Kyle.
Can you imagine the look he give you? Oh, well, if you know what you're watching.
Kyle. He hasn't given me that in a couple of weeks. I'm trying to like build over here.
That'll do it.
Anderson, 8403100 says, isn't it in the Niners' best interest CMC wins MVP? Might have to pay Purdy $60 million.
I mean, I think it's in the 49ers' best interest, yeah. But
that's a great point, actually. I can see why the Niners interest. Yeah. Nee says Purdy gets discredited for the system and weapons, but nobody remembers that CMC was doing nothing last year before he got traded. Almost like having good coach and team helps boost individual production.
Yeah, but CMC did have a 1,000-yard receiving and rushing season before in the league. I think he's done okay.
There's that. Jack's Fatboy 65, not to be confused with Jack's Fatboy 64, says if Trent retires, how will it affect the cap in 24?
You probably save. I'd have to look it up, but I gotta imagine $20+ million.
Yeah, you're probably saving some money.
But he's not. I'd be shocked if he retires. He's set to make so much money over the next 2 seasons, and he seems like somebody that's about his money. So we'll see.
About that paper? All right, let's play some prize picks because I'm about that paper. Trying to make some money. All right, let's do this. Let's see which action we like. And they have these, I'm not sure, these like demons and goblins indicate non-standard payouts. Oh my goodness. Demons and goblins. Money? I guess. So we got a demon one here, and you can only bet over. Brandon Ayuk, 99.5 receiving yards. If you like that action, that's a lot. Or half a rushing or receiving touchdown.
But you win more money, obviously, because you're forced. I like it. I'll take it. I'll take the touchdown. I would go
take the touchdown. That seems like a good one. I mean, so let's start off right there. A little easy money. Brandon Ayuk, touchdown.
Yeah,
right off the bat.
More. I don't know how I feel about 100 yards. That seems like an awful lot.
Yeah, especially against the Ravens. All right, Brock Purdy, his demon is 1.5 rush plus. I don't know about. Oh, that's McCaffrey. Sorry, Purdy, 299.5 passing yards against Baltimore.
And you have to go more. No, I don't like that.
You have to go more to get that. I don't like that at all.
Like that at all. No.
But that's if you just want the Goblin, which I think might be fewer, 224 passing yards. 224.
220. I don't like that either. Those are
that's high.
Awful options.
Do you want to just go on the less for 252 for Brock Purdy?
I'll go more on the 252.
Well, if you want to go more on the 252, then let's take the more on the 224.
Is it more or is it less on 224?
It's more, baby. Did I say less?
Oh, I thought it was less. Okay, yeah, more. Of course we'll go more. Yes, I love that.
Of course. All right, how about McCaffrey? 1.5 touchdowns. He's a touchdown machine. He has 20 on the season. Did you know that?
I don't like more on 1.5.
Not against Baltimore?
No. I like more on
99.5 rushing yards for McCaffrey. Ooh. That's a lot. That's a lot. I don't know
yeah. Well, actually, how many rushing yards? 99.5?
99. That's a lot.
Yeah, that's a lot. That is a lot.
What about Debo for half a touchdown?
Oh, I love that.
Okay, that's another one. That's good action right there. So we got Brandon Ayuk, Brock Purdy, and Debo. We got 2 demons and a goblin. Okay. What about Kittle? Half a touchdown.
No, not a fan of that one.
Not a fan of that. We can't really count on Kittle. What about Goblin? 24.5 receiving yards for Christian McCaffrey. 24.5.
Oh, I'll take the more. I'll take the more on that one.
All day. All right, so that's 4. Let's get one more Niner if we can. Nah, we don't have to.
No, let's go to a Ravens.
Let's go to the Ravens. All right. Demons and Goblins. Which one you like?
Let's Edwards. Do we have a touchdown for Edwards?
Yep.
I'll take the more on that one.
Take that. Bink.
Happily.
All right, last one. Justin Tucker. No, that ain't a demon or a goblin. We need Lamar Jackson.
Let's go Lamar.
274.5 passing yards. That's a lot.
Oh, no.
Or half a touchdown on the ground. He doesn't have that many rushing touchdowns.
No, he doesn't. He traditionally actually doesn't get a lot of rushing touchdowns. What's Zay Flowers? What's his?
Half a touchdown.
And then what's the one, the Odell Beckham next to him? What is that one? Receiving?
This is a goblin, 24.5 receiving yards.
Well, that's the easy one. Let's take that one as a more. Let's just take the easy win.
All right, if you're playing along at home, we took Brandon Ayuk, demon, Brock Purdy, goblin, Debo Samuel, demon, Christian McCaffrey, goblin, Gus Edwards, demon, and Odell Beckham Jr., goblin. That's how we placed our entries this week. If you want to play along with us, promo code Cohn, COHN. It essentially doubles your entry if you deposit up to $100.
Essentially, the goblins are easy wins, and the demons are your tougher wins. So I think,
and we diversified. Oh my God, this isn't going to work because you can't have the touchdowns. Hold on, it says football entries cannot contain more than 1 touchdown stat per team. Oh man, they knew we were going to win. They're scared.
Yeah. Let's take away. Who do we have on the 40? Let's take away. No, Debo, let's take away Ayuk. Let's take away Ayuk because Debo can score 2 different ways. I like Debo.
Let's get back. Yeah, he's just a good call, dude. That's really smart. Let's get this right. Okay, Ayuk for how about the Goblin? 49.5 receiving yards.
Oh, that's an easy one. Yeah, let's take that.
Easy. Boom. Got it. All right. Now I feel ready to argue sports again. Thank you very much, Prize Picks, for being there for us when we needed to have some more than or less than action. All right. How will the Ravens test the 49ers on Monday night?
There's a couple different ways that I'm looking forward to. So
Are you
the
cheating off
Ravens
Maddox's notes?
do what?
Are you cheating off Maddox's notes right now?
I am. I've got Maddox's notes. Yeah, he's good. He knows
Maddox
what he's
is his
talking about.
son, big Ravens fan, broke down what's good about him, why he likes him on Jesse's channel. It was so sweet.
He did good too, man. 9 years old. I thought he
had a
crushed
lot
it.
to say.
He did. He did have a lot to say. There's two ways that I'm looking at it in particular. And I'm not saying that the 49ers aren't going to pass this test, but what I'm looking for is the Ravens are second in the run in the NFL in yards per carry. The 49ers are 18th in yards per carry defense. So the Ravens are gonna press them with the running game, and that's going to be an interesting thing to see the 49ers. Now, I do know that Mitchell is out for the Ravens. That is a big loss, but if Armstead doesn't play or Hargrave or both, things are very, very even there, in my opinion. Plus, Lamar's the great equalizer in the run game. They always lead the league in rushing. And then the other way that I'm looking at it is the 49ers are third in scoring. The Ravens are first in scoring defense. So it's strength versus strength there. 49ers are used to scoring a lot of points. The Ravens defense is used to holding teams to low scores. So can the 49ers pass the test against an elite defense? Not a fraudulent Dallas Cowboys defense, but an actual very good defense in Baltimore.
I want to see how the Niners do against a team that's really physical. Like, they exposed Dallas and Philly. I don't know how physical those teams really are. And they beat Pittsburgh and Jacksonville. Cool. But they got beat up by Cleveland. Straight up. They went in there. They talked a bunch of crap. They started a little scuffle. And then next thing you know, Debo's hurt. McCaffrey's hurt. Trent Williams is hurt. Like, Cleveland beat him up. That's what happened. And Baltimore's beating Cleveland. Cleveland's beating Baltimore. But Baltimore is every bit as physical and violent as Cleveland, if not more. They're not intimidated by the 49ers. Maybe they should be. But I feel like the Niners are maybe the only physical team in the NFC, man. The NFC is so soft. And they're 9-1. They're just rolling through it. But against the AFC, they're 2-2. And maybe that's a fluke. I don't know. But
against that division in particular, they're 1-2. And that division is known for physicality. So it is an interesting point you bring up. Yeah.
So I don't know. Maybe that's just a quirk of they played all these teams before the bye week and they're a different team now and they're going to steamroll. That could definitely happen. Because the Niners are physical too. And they definitely play their best in December and January. So let's see it, because I can't get that Cleveland game out of my freaking head. I can't. You walked in there fully healthy and they smacked you.
Yeah, they did. And that was a beat up Cleveland team. Here's another one. So I gave the overall scoring where the 49ers are third in overall points per game. The Ravens are first in scoring defense. That also boils down to the red zone where the 49ers are first in TD percentage in the red zone, but the Ravens defense is second in TD percentage in the red zone. So
dang,
it's really strength versus strength in a lot of these things, man. I'm looking forward to this game. It's going to be a really, really fun one for sure.
Last thing I want to see. How many rushing touchdowns do you think the Ravens have given up this year?
7.
4.
4? Oh my gosh. Wow.
So, yeah, I mean, the Niners are so good in the red zone because a lot of the times they give the ball to McCaffrey. And maybe he'll be able to power his way in for touchdowns against any team. But this is best. This is the team that's given up the fewest rushing touchdowns in the league. And I'm not surprised. I feel like the Niners were that way with Jim Harbaugh was the coach. Like, we're not letting you into the end zone the easiest way. Sorry. Not going to happen.
What's interesting about the NFL is the 49ers are definitely in the minority when it comes to having good linebacker play. most teams don't have any good linebackers. That's how the 49ers expose those teams. The Ravens have two very good linebackers.
Always.
Unique, very unique.
They don't
So
skip with that position.
that's an interesting one too. It's an interesting one. They have players at all three levels, the Ravens do, and most defenses nowadays, they cannot say that. So
that's true. Dazza says, how were CMC and Brock Purdy numbers during the 3-game losing streak when there was no Trent? Maybe he's the Niners MVP.
Good point. It's a very good point.
No, you're not allowed to give it to anyone who's not a running back or a quarterback. Sorry. Even though Trent Williams probably objectively is the MVP of this team.
Yeah.
The least replaceable, which makes him the most valuable. Tommy Huxley says Darnold is doo-doo. Chef T says so. Man, that's not nice. How much celebrating can you do if the Niners beat the Ravens? Can I do?
Oh, no, he's asking me because my son's a Ravens fan. I'll be very respectful because you have to remember. So yeah. I watched the playoff game with him last year when the Ravens lost to the Bengals, and just seeing the devastation on his face was heartbreaking because I know what it's like to be a fan and be a young fan. So I knew what he was going through in that moment. I'll definitely be very, very supportive of him. But inside, I'll be celebrating like crazy.
Matt McEwen says Marlon Humphrey comments no respect for the Niners. I didn't see the full thing. Someone said he was being sarcastic. I didn't see it.
He was probably being sarcastic. All I know is that every player that I've seen their interviews, they've been very, very respectful of the 49ers. I think Hamilton was. I think Roquan Smith was. Lamar was. So I doubt that he was being serious, but maybe.
Brother Bob says Maddox is 100%
better
stats
than
plus
MVP. It's not even close. Wow, take
100% better.
Yeah.
Ooh. Hey man, but that's a high bar that Maddox sets. Matt McEwen says we lost Maddox as a fan because of trash Jimmy.
Jimmy Granopolo, as he calls him.
Ooh, he did say that. That killed me when he said that. Jimmy Granopolo. I was like, that's his name now. From now on. I don't make the rules. Lucky Louise says it's crazy to me that anyone thinks this game is going to be close, but whooping incoming. I'll come back for your instant reaction. All right, man. I believe it.
I'm not saying that it can't happen, but I don't know why it would be mind blowing that people think it would be close. I mean, you're talking about the number one team in the AFC versus the number one team in the NFC. I feel like I'm doing this show with Sam Darnold the way that your eyes have been doing that throughout the show.
What's wrong, Sam? I just asked what you ate for breakfast. All right. Brock Purdy, Lamar Jackson, two MVP frontrunners. Whoever wins this game wins the MVP. Most likely. Lamar wins this game, boom. Biggest win of the season for anyone. He wins the MVP. And Brock wins it. It's just the coronation. Who would you rather have? Who would you rather build your team around? You had your pick.
Yeah, so not who I'm picking for MVP. That's a different question. You're right. I think whoever does win this game, that's going to be your front runner for MVP. That's pretty obvious at this point. Because I think Lamar has moved into number 2 behind Brock at number 1.
Yeah, it can't be Dak or freaking the Hurts. No. And they won't give it to Tyreek Hill because, again,
wide
receivers are discriminated against in the NFL. Is not fair.
Yeah.
I'm a wide receiver advocate.
Yeah. Yeah, you really are. You should be a wide receiver
on the table
agent.
for it. Wide receivers are people too.
All right, who would I take between Brock and Lamar? I'm building my team, so I don't have an offense in place, anything like that. I'm taking Lamar Jackson, man. I mean, first of all, Lamar's done it for longer. Lamar, we know, can do it with less weapons. He hasn't had any major receivers of note. When he goes out, we know what the team results are. The team loses a lot. In fact, they struggle to make the playoffs. They limp into the playoffs. They had like a 2.5 game lead over the Bengals last year. He missed like the final 6 games, and the Bengals finished first in the division. So you can see how much he means to that team versus a replacement level quarterback. And really, the weapons, they just haven't been there. And he's performed year after year. He has won an MVP. The youngest to ever do it unanimously. And he's just the most dynamic quarterback in the NFL, the most dynamic quarterback since Michael Vick. His skill set is extremely unique. And I think a lot of people who don't watch him think he's not a very good passer. And I completely disagree. I watch every Ravens game because my son's a Ravens fan. He's improved a ton as a passer. I'm taking Lamar Jackson. The skill sets are just too through the roof.
So I would too. I would take Lamar Jackson too. We've seen him play for Greg Roman, gimmick, and we've seen him play now for Todd Monken, who's fine.
Yeah.
If you put him on a team with Mike McDaniel or Kyle Shanahan, like they're so creative. They've gotten the absolute most out of their quarterbacks, Brock Purdy, Tua. Like those guys, you couldn't get more out of those guys. And they're really good quarterbacks. But I don't think you could say that about Lamar. He's never had a coach like that. He's never had a team like this. If you put him with Kyle Shanahan, like this is what it would look like. Remember what it looked like with Robert Griffin III when that team was kind of unbeatable for a while and that offense was kind of unstoppable? He'd be able to do a lot of that stuff, but plus so much more. Nothing against Robert Griffin when he was young, but Lamar is way better than Robert ever was. And Kyle coached him. Kyle would know exactly what to do with Lamar Jackson. I think that would work. I mean, there would be no limitations to the offense. Not that there are now, but I'm taking Lamar. He's a creative coach's dream.
He is. And he's had, I'm looking at his receiving leaders by year. So he came in, really took over in 2018. So John Brown, Mark Andrews, Marquise Brown, Mark Andrews, and then this year's Zay Flowers. He just hasn't had the receiving help at all.
And Andrews is out.
Yeah, and Andrews is out. It's a great point.
Yeah. Is he coming back?
I think there's hope that maybe by the AFC Championship or Super Bowl he'd be back.
What is Maddox hearing?
Before then. Maddox's ear is to the streets. He's hearing the same thing.
That's what I'm saying. Trying to pass off information you got from Maddox like you knew it yourself. Like, come on.
I know. He's actually right here whispering. He's AFC Championship.
What's up, Maddox? How you doing? Matthew Sanders says things got worse versus Cleveland as Brock lost his cool. Finally, late fourth quarter, he found his rhythm. Kyle will scheme it up. Brock Purdy just has to hit it. Ayuk all day.
All diddy day.
Jeff Caravella says, what's up with Hargrave and Armstead? They playing Monday? Can the D-line stop the run without him? Maddox.
I don't think in this game it would be a very good matchup at all if those two are out. I don't like their chances at stopping the run.
I don't see how Hargrave plays. You pulled your hamstring. That's a 3-week injury. You're 300 pounds. You're going to rush back so you could potentially make it worse and not play in the playoffs. Like, you don't have to win this game. You win 2 of the next 3. You clinch the first round bye. It seemed like it would be pretty unnecessary and irresponsible to just rush him back onto the field if he's not ready. But I don't know. Maybe it's a hamstring tweak.
I personally, I know a lot of people are trying to figure out, okay, what's the path to success for the 49ers as they enter the playoffs? You know, should they rest guys in week 18, really take a 2-week rest? I don't subscribe to that at all. I don't think they should rest their players at all in week 18. I would prefer for them to go for the win in week 18, play, stay in game shape and in competitive shape mentally, take your week off, and then get ready. I think taking 2 weeks off would be a major mistake. I don't like that strategy personally.
I don't like it either. I got a bonus topic for you. I feel like you may not agree with me on this. Let me throw something at you. Let me throw it at you. You catch it. You can throw it right back at me if you don't like it.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
All right.
I feel like NFL rule changes have sort of made Brock Purdy possible. Like, I feel like the NFL kind of created this monster. And what they've been doing, maybe I'm wrong, they've been trying to give the offense the advantage for years. They keep making it harder to play football. They keep trying to legislate the violence out of the game. You can't really hit the quarterback. Can't hit him too high. Can't hit him too low. You can't land on top of him. When you fall on the ground, you got to help him up and dust off his jersey and write a letter to his mom saying that you're sorry. If you don't do that, it's a fine and a 15-yard penalty. And then you can throw over the middle with impunity, as Tom Brady pointed out, because you can't touch the wide receivers either. So it used to be, you really had to be. There's a reason teams were looking for 6'4" quarterbacks who weighed 230, because the pocket was a dangerous, football field was a dangerous place. And Joe Montana, who was not small for a quarterback, but not exactly big, got beat up a lot in the NFL. And his career didn't last as long as Tom Brady's because he got hit really freaking hard and he wasn't that big. Now, man, you can't touch these guys. And you can have quarterbacks who look like me hanging out in the pocket just with arrogance, not worried about a darn thing, throwing the ball over the middle, not worried about a darn thing. You don't got to worry about that level of injury anymore. And I think maybe teams have to realize, like, you know what? Size and strength in the pocket anymore aren't super important because if they breathe on our quarterback, it's a 15-yard penalty. All right. Like maybe we kind of need to prioritizing those physical traits and just understand that it's easier than ever to play this position. And you just got to get a guy who understands what the hell he's looking at and is fairly accurate. Move a little bit. That's not a question. It's a 2-minute statement. You don't get to answer. Next topic.
All right. The question, or at least how it's written, is how NFL rule changes have made Brock Purdy possible. I don't know that NFL rule changes have made Brock himself possible. I think they've certainly helped Brock Purdy, but he's not the only one that they are helping. It's helping all quarterbacks and all wide receivers, frankly. All of them are being helped. Did you know, and this was as of a year ago that I looked this up, so I'm sure a couple have changed since then. Do you know in the last 20 years, there has been more than 50 rule changes for player safety in 20 years? That's a significant change in how the game is played. And I'm not saying it's bad, just saying it's different. You look at the hit that happened this last weekend on Pittman by Kazi or whatever. He got thrown out for the rest of the season. He's done for the season for that hit. That right there was quintessential. Yes. He's done for the season, suspended. That was the quintessential on the quarterback. That was 100% on Gardner Minshew. 100% on Gardner Minshew. He basically threw up a hospital ball. You had Pittman sitting wide open in his own area. He led him directly into a hit that, frankly, 10, 15 years ago wouldn't have even been anything. It would have just been like, oh, that's a highlight.
They would have been like, oh, you lit you up. That's what they would have said.
Right. And it would have been blamed on the quarterback. I bet you, I would almost guarantee that coaching staff did not one time go to Gardner Minshew and be like, hey, man, you can't be throwing balls like that. You can't lead them into hits, because quarterbacks nowadays aren't used to having to lead them away from hits. What he should have done is thrown it to the open zone and let him sit down and protected himself. But because quarterbacks are used to their wide receivers getting the benefit of the doubt, they can just throw it wherever they want and be like, what are you going to do? Get thrown out of the game? Probably not. So you're going to have to get 20 yards of yak after this because you can't hit them. And that's the way it's going to be. So I think the league in general is way up. And a lot of these players' major statistics are a product of the rule changes. And that's why it's so hard to compare eras. That's why I hate when we look back and be like, oh, well, this quarterback has thrown for more yards in his first 4 seasons than any quarterback in NFL history. Well, yeah, no crap, because numbers are up 20+%, because back then you couldn't do the things that you can do now. You could maul wide receivers before they got the ball. You could shove them out of bounds and they couldn't catch it afterwards. There were so many different things that you could do before that you just can't do now.
Yeah, and it felt like when we were kids, you had to be built like Steve Young or John Elway or Andrew Luck to be a elite quarterback. But as the rules have changed and it's less violent of a game and the offense has more and more advantages, I mean, Andrew Luck would still have success, obviously, but you don't have to look like that. You don't have to have those overwhelming physical traits because they can't touch you. It's against the rules. So I think it's just kind of a natural progression. I think we're seeing it. Maybe the NFL didn't explicitly mean this to happen, and maybe they don't like it, but it seems to me it's a good thing because the more viable quarterbacks for this league, the better. You don't want to watch punting competitions. No one likes that.
The product's all about money. They're going to do what makes them money, and the safety thing sells. It does, and it's good. I mean, for long-term health for these people, I think it does. Yeah, it absolutely
safety.
Does. Yeah.
See, that's the thing. I mean, they don't want to be sued, But I don't think people are sitting down in front of their big screen TVs on Sunday being like, all right, man, let's watch some safe, clean football. Who's with me?
I think
I'm just saying.
overall, when you can talk to safety, that's a big thing. It may not sell to the fan, it may not appeal to the fan as much, but it definitely does to sponsors.
Oh, no
And they're all
doubt.
about their money, and that's where the money
Absolutely.
comes in. We don't make them as much money as the sponsors do. Absolutely not.
I make the NFL all the money secretly.
You
I don't
do
know how I do
personally.
it. I do it personally, secretly. This is what I like to do. Joseph Stockbridge. While on hypothetical quarterback thoughts, Andrew Luck with Shanae or Lamar Jackson with McDaniels. Seriously, would you rather have Tomlin or Belichick with Wilkes gone? How about Saleh?
Yeah, I'll take Saleh. Definitely take Saleh. Although
Uh,
Wilkes is not going to be gone at the end of the year. They're not going to fire him, and he's not going to get a head coaching job. He's going to be back next year.
I would like to see Lamar Jackson with Mike McDaniels because I think it would just be fun. I want to see that.
Could you imagine my secretly when we thought Debo was going to get traded, I was like, if he does, I hope he goes to the Ravens. Him and Lamar would have been a cheat code, an absolute cheat code.
Yeah. Killa Mig 831 says we win 28-10. Who is we?
Yeah.
Me and you?
Yeah,
I like it.
Yeah.
J Figs Ramon says Brock got hit and broke his arm. Look, it's true, but I'm saying it was like he got clipped. It's like you're not allowed to actually run into him. Someone tried that in the last game, and it was a 15-yard penalty. Just ran into him.
Here's a good example.
Guy.
That hit this last week that took him out for a few plays. If that was a wide open defender with a clear lane on him, he would have been rock bottomed through the fucking turf 15 years ago, and he probably wouldn't have been back in that game, if not the next game or the game after that.
If Joe Montana got hit like that or Steve Young got hit like that, it wouldn't have been a penalty.
Yeah.
It's a different game. That's a penalty today, not when I was growing up.
Yeah.
Back in my day.
All
right. Let's talk about the long-term plan at quarterback. Obviously, it's looking like Brock Purdy is going to be the franchise quarterback for this team. Right now, he's the biggest bargain in the NFL. But after next year, he'll be eligible for an extension. And if he wins an MVP or a Super Bowl or two, man, Lamar Jackson's making $50 million a year. Brock could make that too or more if he's an MVP, if he's looked at like that. So what the Niners could do is just accept that pretty soon they're going to be spending a whole lot of money on Brock Purdy and just bring in whatever backup, sign Sam Darnold again next year and have him around. Or they could draft a quarterback. Not to get rid of Brock. Not to trade Brock. But just to hedge their bets and have another option. Because, the Niners are the team that found Brock and developed Brock. And if they can do it once with this supporting cast, they might want to try it again. I think it would behoove them to draft a quarterback this year on day 3. It could be in round 7. It could be an undrafted free agent. Be serious about it. Bring in a guy who's played a lot, who sort of fits the Brock Purdy blueprint. I think they should do it. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree with that. And really, not like you said, not to replace Brock, but when you look at it, why would you want to go get a retread quarterback like a Sam Darnold or a Jimmy Garoppolo to be your backup when you know that if these guys enter the game, your chances of winning go way down? Or you can bring in a guy who has the opportunity to be better than them for a hell of a lot cheaper, and you can develop them maybe into something more. Maybe you have a situation like the Bengals have right now, where you have a Browning come in, plays very well, and at the very least, you can flip him for draft picks if he's under contract, at the very least. Or he can become your long-term starter potentially if things go amazing. I think that's definitely the way to go. And you look at what the 49ers did with Brock Purdy, that's exactly what they did. In this situation, they were able to trade Trey Lance. You didn't get a lot for him, but it afforded you the ability to trade him and then keep Brock Purdy as your franchise quarterback. But that was only allowable. The only other option would have been this. If if Brock Purdy wasn't here, Jimmy Garoppolo would have been back for $20+ million this year. That's what would have happened, I believe. So because of Brock Purdy
which
being
would
cheap
have been a
and being
freaking
developed,
disaster.
it would have been a disaster, and they wouldn't have won a Super Bowl, and it would have been the same old thing over and over. So, yeah, absolutely, definitely. Why go with these retreads? There's no point. Don't bring in the Marcus Mariota or the Gardner Minshew's or any of that stuff. Just go get a young quarterback or two even, and see if one of them can pan out and be your long-term backup.
Yeah, I mean, the Sam Darnold signing made no sense. That's not what you've stumbled upon. You're not trying to do reclamation projects. You can't develop quarterbacks. You want guys who are ready-made because they exist and they're cheap. Instead of signing Sam Darnold, who's making like $4 or $5 million this year and would make more if he actually played, they could have drafted Aiden O'Connell.
Yeah.
You could have had Aiden O'Connell instead of freaking Cam Latu. For your starter, he's good. I mean, he'd be fine on the 49ers. He'd be better than freaking Sam Darnold and cheaper. Seems to me, Brock Purdy should be the highest paid quarterback on this team next year, making $1 million. His backup should make like $900K, and the third string guy should make like $750. And I bet they'd all be good. The Niners should be looking for that. Don't bring in some retread who has had 1 million chances and failed. Bring in a guy like Jake Browning, a guy who hasn't really had a chance, but has certain similarities to Brock Purdy and could thrive in your system. Not a guy who's a loser. Sorry, Sam.
Or bring back Nick Mullins. That's fine too.
honestly, yes. That's not even stupid. If he wants to play for $1 million, sign him up, man. He'd be fine. He struggled on the Niners a little bit. He never played with McCaffrey and Debo and Kittle and he could be the third string quarterback for this team. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Him, Purdy, and a draft pick or an undrafted free agent. That should be the quarterback room next year. That's plenty good enough. Sam Darnold, thank you, man, for being a coach in the meeting room. Really, really helped everyone. Your services are no longer necessary. Brandon Allen.
That's the question I have. And I'm not saying it's not happening, but if you do bring in Nick Mullins to be your third string quarterback, at least you know that he's there teaching, right? What is Brock getting that help now? I mean, a lot of these starting quarterbacks really rely on their backups to help them with film study and those types of things.
Why do you think Brandon Allen is in the building, man? He developed Joe Burrow.
Yeah, he did.
He developed Jake Browning.
Brandon Allen's probably helping. I don't know how much Sam Darnold's helping out with.
He's the MVP of the team.
Film study.
He's the MVP behind the MVP. That's who he is. Brandon Allen. Yeah.
He's the real MVP.
No one wants to talk about that, though.
Like when KD said his mom was a real MVP, that's what Brock Purdy does when he gets up there with the award, and it's like,
Brandon Allen,
real MVP.
He wrote down flashcards for me and would quiz me on coverages. Matthew Sanders says, y'all forget how serious the CTE thing was. Player suicides, dad saying they won't let their kids play football was threatening to end the league. I'm not trying to downplay that. I'm not at all. They're doing the right thing. It's just had an effect on the kind of players who have success. And I do think that while sponsors definitely want everything to be above board, there's a reason why people love watching the movie The Waterboy. And it's not because of the quarterback play in that movie.
Yeah, NFL Blitz was a thing because the way the league was. But Matt, I think you're
point. NFL Blitz.
Yeah, you're kind of mishearing us. We're not saying that the league should go back that way. We're just saying this is how the league has changed and this is the result of it. That's all we're saying.
Yeah, absolutely. Dennis Green says, why are you both wearing coats indoors?
This is a hoodie. This is not a coat, sir. That's one. No, I'm just kidding. It's cold, man.
Because I make the rules.
Listen, it's been low 60s, high 50s in Tampa the last couple of days. That is freezing. I'm used to 70 plus degrees during this time of year. So yeah, I'm cold.
Aru Illustri says, I'm thankful to Brock Purdy for killing the term QB room.
Yeah, I remember that was the thing going into this year. We have the best QB room. Who cares about a QB room?
Which means you don't know who your quarterback is.
Yeah.
Lobs all day and night on 49ers After Dark says, Jesse, have you changed your opinion on Purdy? You did call him Mobile Mullins before. Do you believe he can be a franchise quarterback?
No, I didn't. Go find where that happened. Why do people make things up? Okay. No, nothing has changed on my opinion with Brock. My opinion is not going to be known. The result is not going to be known for a couple years. I like Brock. Okay. I've always liked Brock. I've got videos when he was drafted celebrating it. I've got texts talking about him in 2020 on this very show. On this very show, before we drafted Trey Lance, we were talking about quarterbacks that we liked. And I said, yeah, you know one that I like, Grant? Brock Purdy, but he didn't come out this year on this very show. So I like Brock
I was
Purdy.
like, you know who I like? Kellen Mond.
Yeah. So I like Brock Purdy, but don't conflate that with thinking he has to be the best quarterback or believing in him blindly. Like, that's not what I'm going to do. I can like a player, but also not believe that they're a franchise quarterback. Those two things can both exist. So, but no, I never called him Mobile Mullins. Go find that, please.
Hey, a mobile Mullins might be an MVP. So here's the thing with Mullins. I actually think Mullins is pretty good. But to me, his demeanor, he cares too much. You can see as soon as something goes wrong and he cuts him on the sideline, he's like beating himself up. It's like Brock never does that. Brock is so confident. And Mullins is just, he seems like self-critical. Come on, man, let's do this. It's like, nah, man, relax. Be like Brock. When he missed that, when he couldn't get that quarterback sneak, I was so heart broke for the guy.
It was so
that guy needs a hug.
He's like a real Rudy Mullins.
Yeah. Yeah. But again, it's like you can look like me and be an NFL quarterback. I wish I had known this when I was a kid. I could have been a quarterback, Jesse.
You could have been a quarterback. That's my quarterback.
That's my quarterback. Dazzler says apparently you're a BP hater unless you think he's Joe Montana and better than Mahomes.
Yeah, that's it. And that's where it's at. It's like, listen, if you're not willing to say I think he should win the MVP this year or could win the MVP. I think he's in the conversation. I actually think CMC should win the MVP. But if I don't give it to CMC right now, I'm giving it to Brock Purdy. But because I'm not ready to say he's a franchise quarterback, it's hatred in some sort of weird alternate world. But keep it pushing, I guess.
Doesn't Mahomes kind of feel like LeBron or Michael Jordan, where it's like he's the MVP? Everyone knows it. By far the best player in the league. So you could give the award to whoever has some good numbers that year. You can make an argument. But in 30 years, we're going to look back and be like, oh, that's kind of cute. Someone else other than Patrick Mahomes won the MVP this year when everyone knew Mahomes was the clear best player. Fine. I mean, his numbers don't warrant it, and you don't just give it to guys off reputation, but it's Mahomes.
It's like Karl Malone winning the MVP and then Jordan ripping his heart out in the finals. Yeah, kind of like that.
Yeah, and like if it is the Chiefs against the Niners in the Super Bowl, no one's going to bill that game as, well, the Niners have the edge at quarterback because their guy won MVP. Like, no. Sorry. No. And we all know that. Lobs all day says Mullins versus Baltimore D is big test. Best D scheme in NFL. Mullins? Did you just call?
Yeah, well, why is Mullins?
Did you mean to call?
The one that called him Mullins.
Lobs is getting them confused. That's
no, their scheme. I do agree with this, Lobs. I think their defensive scheme is elite. It is a very, very good scheme. Yeah.
Aru Illustrious says rename the show Niners Coats to Coats. That's pretty
nice.
funny.
Nice.
All right. Thank you for watching Niners Coats to Coats. Grant Cohn, Jessie Naylor, wearing coats inside. Yeah, that's the show. A marathon of streaming ends now. You're not
today. I'm not done. I've got Behind Enemy Lines with the Ravens content creator. Last Second Sports, 3 minutes. Tap in.
Thanks for watching, everyone. See you guys later.
Peace.